As I reflect on some of the initiatives in ministry over the years in my own walk with the Lord, probably one of the sweetest and most victorious moments that come to mind is an idea that came to me rather spontaneously. I have a burden for men's ministry, and men don't particularly like and are not well suited to sit down, shut up, and listen. We can do it, but it's not something we choose to do. We would rather be outdoors and be loud and blow things up. So I thought, how about let's reach out to men by having a skeet shoot? What could be more fun outdoors? So, enthused with my idea, I went to my church and said, I've made arrangements. A brother was very generous to kind of allow us to use the facilities. He had a skeet launcher and a pasture, great place out in the country. I said, the arrangements have been made and the date has been set. I would like to have you just simply announce to all men that they are welcome to attend this skeet shoot. And I've even got some pamphlets printed up, and I'd like to put those right in front of the men's urinals and also in the bathroom stalls. Well, I did not expect such a cold response. It was believed that putting advertisements in the men's room was, I don't know, just something wrong with it. Now, men, you've probably been in the men's room and have seen advertisements similarly situated, but somehow it's wrong to do it in church. I can't think of a more captive audience for your advertisement, but nonetheless, and furthermore, it was not endorsed by the Southern Baptist Convention, and other churches, men from other churches would be invited. In fact, unchurched men would be invited. Basically, I got the cold shoulder. Well, all right. So I just printed up a few business cards in that safety orange, that hunters would, men can connect with that. Just with a little map, how to get there and the time and the date and Skeet Shoot. That's all it was, Skeet Shoot. I thought, well, this will be a great chance to reach unchurched men. Now, we did very few rules. The only rule we had was no alcohol, because after all, we're going to be shooting guns, and guns and alcohol don't mix too well. Okay, so, and I think that's a reasonable request, even for someone who is a regular consumer of alcoholic beverage, but we wanted to reach out to them. And smoking would be permitting. Men could pass gas, they could holler, they could make noises, they could blow stuff up. It was a pretty good idea. Well, passed out a few of those discreetly, of course, in church, because after all, this was forbidden. And so the day came, and the time was set for 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday. And I recall very well that we had not had rain for weeks. And when the time came, a downpour, and I don't mean a little rain, just a torrential rain. And I was out in the country, and I thought of all the things I did not plan for. But to my surprise, men came showing up. Not just a few. We didn't actually count the heads, but I assure you that there were 75 men. Now, I had certainly not invited that many. I don't know how the word got out, but apparently men came in the rain, and my phone was ringing off the hook. When are you going to reschedule? And I said, well, I don't know. Well, the skies did clear a couple of hours later, and we actually had a pretty good time busting some clays. Inspired by the overwhelming response, we decided to schedule another one. And we did, and of course it was even bigger. There were probably 150, maybe 200. And then we did another one, and now and they get better each time, of course. After a while, we've got the life flight helicopter landing, we've got, hot air balloons, we've got dog training exhibitions, we've got, how to sharpen knives and how to have a lumberjack competition, all kinds of really interesting guy stuff. And what was so good about it is that we could just, without any reservation, ask an unchurched man, hey, come hang out with us. And we had, our men dressed in certain, jackets that could be identified, and we would mingle with the men and just connect with them. And the message really was, we are Christian men, but we actually do have fun and lead interesting lives. And I chuckle at that, but that's a real problem, because I think the world believes that God is a cosmic killjoy and that God doesn't want us to do anything that's fun. And Christian men do have fun. Yes, we like to race cars, we like to blow up stuff, hunt, kill things, all that good. Work on motors, and get greasy. And we're no different than any other men. Well, actually we are, but we're spiritually different. Okay, we live in Christ. Well, so it was a great outreach program. Unchurched men came, but now the churches are more interested, because see, now we've got big crowds, and so we began to churchify it. And we thought, well, it'd be good to have a meal, and of course have a blessing before the meal, and then after the meal have a little sermon. And it seemed like the more we churchified it, the more it just began to decay and decline, because, we forgot the very thing that started it, is we wanted to engage with men in a way that they like. See, men don't like to sit down, be still, shut up, and listen. They like to be heard. They like to make noise. They like to get attention. So, it just kind of declined, and then some problems of the legal liability, insurance, and then getting sued, and harmless agreements, and the whole thing just went down the toilet, to tell you the truth. But yet I still recall the victory and the exhilaration of reaching out to men. The way we do church, we have a building, we have a sermon, we pretty much, no matter where you go, it's not that different. You can pretty well predict what's going to happen. And I really don't have a problem with doing church and proclaiming the gospel. I think we should. But I also think that we should reach out to people and connect with them where they are at. Now, why do I say that? Well, that's because the way Jesus did it. Okay? In fact, if you read the book of Acts, and I won't cite any particular passage, but the overall impression I get from the book of Acts is they were not building churches and inviting people to come. They pretty much gathered and assembled and praised and worshiped and interacted with each other wherever they could. It might be in somebody's home, and it might be in some public gathering place. So before you say, well, I don't think that's a really good venue to do church work, well, I would ask, where in the book of Acts does it support the venues that we now use? And they are certainly not wrong. So let me ask you a question. Are you reaching out to people in the name of Christ, sharing the gospel? Is your church reaching out? Or is it kind of like most churches, there's a sign out front that we hold worship services Sunday morning at 11 a.m., and surely everybody can see the sign? I'm reaching out to you. If you are watching this video, I hope that it's more than just a talking head. I just want to share my walk with Christ, and you know what? I'd like you to do the same. I'll tell you what, there's a place that I am inviting you to come hang out with some wonderful Christians. Fortunately, they're not all men, and fortunately, they're not all women. It's a new website we just launched. It is byhisgrace.com. And when you get there, you will find this and many other videos from ordinary Christians. You won't find a whole lot of theologians or ministry professionals. I'm not saying you won't see any, but our goal is to empower you. That's right, to simply share your walk with Christ. Now, we also have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week chat room. I hope you'll find it there, and a schedule of live events where we get together and fellowship and hang out with one another and share our joys and pray for one another and just, well, assemble together in the name of the Lord. I hope you'll check it out, byhisgrace.com.